today's Coronavirus Extraordinary episode, I have two guests who've come along to speak to me, and that is Una and Margaret. They wrote a book together called Sanity. It's a graphic novel, really. It's a fantastic piece of work, and it came from an experience that they both shared, but I'll let them tell the story. Do have a listen. Welcome to Coronavirus Extraordinary episodes, where this week I have Una and Margaret remotely connecting with me. Hello, Una and Margaret.
Hello there.
Hello.
Thank you so much for both coming along. What is it that you've come along to tell me about today?
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about our project that we did together. It's not very often that people get the chance to work with their mums, but we wrote a book together. And we also going to talk a little bit about, the effects of lockdown, because me and my mum have had to kind of adapt our relationship, and also my mum's had to sort of learn a lot of new stuff so that she could get online and get connected with family and stuff. And I think that's probably going to be really interesting. What do you think, Mum?
Yes, it's been very interesting learning about the internet. I've had my tablet over a year, and I didn't know how to use it, but I know how to use it now. Because during lockdown I've had plenty of time to concentrate, so that's been great. Yes, I've enjoyed that, and Una's book is very interesting. It's about the aftermath of a mental breakdown I had with my picnic. It lasted about 8 years. But I've eventually recovered, and I'm in perfectly good health now. So the book was the first day of the breakdown. Then when I was taken to hospital, I think people will find it interesting.
So how old were you, Margaret, when that happened to you?
Well, that was in 2009, and I'm 76 now. In 2000 what year is it? 2000
It's 2020.
2020. 2009, so I'd have to work it out. I can't remember. 2009 and
12 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And had you had any experience of anything like that previously, Margaret?
No, none whatsoever. I've never had any physical or mental problems during my lifetime. The doctors called it late onset schizophrenia.
Right.
So I suppose that means old age schizophrenia.
And was that a really scary experience for you?
It was very frightening, actually. I was very frightened all the time because I thought people were trying to kill, spying on me, and I was in fear of my life for several years, I became very aggressive because I thought people were against me, and I became very aggressive towards lots of people, including some of the churchgoers. I used to go to church and became aggressive towards them. They've all forgiven me now, by the way.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Everybody's forgiven me for my strange behaviour.
And what was that period like for you then, Una?
Right. So, it was very worrying, obviously, but mostly very frustrating because it was nearly impossible to get any help for her because she didn't want to have any help for herself. It went on for several years, and we knew she was ill, but she didn't know that she was ill. By we, I mean sort of close family. She wasn't registered with a doctor because she thought that doctors were part of the conspiracy. And she just became iller and iller and iller, and there was just nothing anyone could do apart from kind of just try to, I don't know, really, occasionally talk to her or something. There's really very little you can do.
Yeah.
Eventually, it turned out that you can register someone with a doctor without their knowing. And
oh, gosh.
I'd spoken to social services and my own GP, which was also local to my mum, loads of times about this, and no one had ever said to me, well, what you can do is just go into the doctors, fill in a form, tell them the situation that you're in, fill in a form, and then she'll be registered with the doctor, and then we can start to do something. It took about 20 minutes, but I'd waited something like 3 years for that.
Oh, gosh. Oh.
Yeah, and the social worker that was there on the day my mum went to hospital under a section was actually really quite apologetic. He was a really lovely man, although my mum thought that he was, the devil sent from hell or something, but he actually wasn't. He was ever so nice. And he said he was very sorry for the way my mum had been let down generally by services. And I suppose what I just want to say the name of the book, which I'm assuming you might have on the website but it's On Sanity.
Yeah.
One day in 2 lives, because actually it's kind of focused around the day that she went to hospital, but it's also focused around both of our experiences of that day. And obviously when I first wrote and drew what was originally just a little zine, it was only my perspective, and at that point I had no idea whether my mum would ever recover. I had no idea whether I'd ever see her happy again. It was a really difficult thing to go through. And then it turns out that actually she had a very good outcome from being treated under a section. She's not only got her old life back, she's got something more, I think. She's got a better life than she used to have. And I think that's a really important thing for people to know. So that's why we got Arts Council funding to write a part 2 of On Sanity, which was then called One Day in 2 Lives. And I sat down with my mum. I mean, it's our book. She always calls it my book, but it's actually our book because most of it is her words and my drawing. But we just sat down in our kitchen and recorded an oral history. I just said, okay, so just start talking and tell me about everything that you can remember. And it sort of meanders a little bit into other periods. It's not strictly about the one day, but that's the kind of the thing that the story pivots around, I suppose. And I'm really proud of what we made. And I also want to say that if people want to read it, it is available in every single Leeds library because it was donated. So every library in Leeds has a copy of On Sanity.
Oh.
And if you're rich enough to buy it, you can buy it from me on my Etsy shop. And that's my only plug, I think, for today.
So, Margaret, how did you feel about writing the book with Una?
I was very interested because I wanted to talk about the problems that I'd had because it had really affected the way I felt and the way I thought. And I was keen to discuss it with people and tell them how it was recovering, because I didn't believe you could recover from mental illness. I always thought, in fact, I didn't believe in mental illness until I'd had it myself. Mm-hmm. I just thought it was a strange phenomenon. But after I'd had it myself, I realised what mental illness was and how it could affect your brain. And if it affects your brain operates your body. You also get physical symptoms. I got such as my skin was numb, and I was having dizzy spells. I had 1 or 2 symptoms which disappeared when I recovered from schizophrenia. Have I recovered? I'm still on tablets for the rest of my life, so I suppose I'm under control, if you like.
Yeah.
But yes, what was your question?
I was just asking how you felt about the writing of the book. Did it sound like it was a helpful process for you?
Yes, it was. Thinking about it, because obviously something like that, a big thing like that happening to you, preys on your mind, and you want to get it out of your head and discuss it and explain to people, what's happened and how you felt. Yes, I think it was a really big help, was the book.
Yeah, because when I was reading it, I was struck by, it was a very difficult time, and it could be really, really scary having to go to an institution that you've never been to before, and especially like sort of where your mind was, where you were feeling suspicious about a lot of things. But I thought it just felt like a real relief for me when the part where you got to the room and you thought the room was really nice and clean, and you felt quite sort of settled.
Yes, I did. I was frightened to get in the ambulance and to go to the hospital. I was horrified. I can remember feeling horrified. And when I got to the institution, I didn't like going in through the door. But when I got into the bedroom, I was really impressed and pleased. There was a shower and it was lovely. And then when I saw the buffet, I was even more impressed for tea. So yes, I felt really relaxed, and I didn't suspect the nurses there. I suspected the doctors, but I didn't suspect the nurses. And you didn't often see the doctors, so it was quite comforting.
And so whilst you were there, what kind of things did you do to sort of, did you have to sort of wait to be formally diagnosed and then for them to work out what drugs you needed and what sort of perhaps therapy, what kind of thing happened there?
Well, I think I'd been diagnosed before they took me to the hospital. I think that's why the two doctors and the social worker, so they assessed me at home before I went to the hospital. And then when I got to the hospital, I was put on this medication, which went to a little room and collected your medication. You took it every day in front of them to make sure you did take it. And then to pass the time, we did art. We did some painting and artwork, and I painted some plant pots and things like that, and then we got a chance to paint some pictures in watercolours, and watched quite a lot of television. I wasn't very motivated. One of the things about my condition was, although I was very hyperactive, I was more or less just wanting to walk about. I didn't want to do things. I found it very hard to concentrate on doing practical things or artistic things. I found it very hard to sit down and do it because I just wanted to charge about because I was so agitated.
So once you got into the art then, you think that really helped you sort of settle your mind to some extent?
Yes, I think it did. And I did some sewing as well, which I enjoyed because I do like sewing. And I do like art, but I paint with oils at home, and they were painting with water paints, which I don't prefer. But yes, it helped me concentrating on things. I had a nurse who came to see me regularly after I got home, and she said, write in your diary just one thing each day that you're going to do. She says, and make sure you do it. She said, even if it's just going to the shops or going round the park. And she says, you'll find you'll start recovering just by making yourself do things. Because I didn't want to go walk around the park. I didn't want to do anything practical. I just wanted to charge them out. And I found if I followed the instructions in my diary, I didn't want to go round the park, but once I'd been round the park, I felt all right about it, and I could do it again then. Yeah,
it sort of opened you up because you've got that thing every single day to think about. That gave you something to focus on.
It did, yes, it did.
And how did you feel, Una, once your mum was?
I was just thinking it's funny because once she did get the help, it was absolutely brilliant. But it was getting the help, and I'm not sure whether how much that's changed. I'm not sure. A couple of things I wanted to say about arriving at the hospital.
Yeah.
The consultant was really good and explained everything to me well. So I kind of spoke to her consultant. He told me that they'd got a particular kind of antipsychotic that melts on your tongue, so that it's taken quickly and the patient can't spit it out. And he said, what we're going to do with your mum is we're going to try her on that. We wouldn't forcibly treat anyone. We always try to kind of get them to cooperate. Obviously, if they really won't cooperate and they really are in a lot of danger, there comes a point where they're going to have to sort of be forcibly treated. But even under a section, they don't, they don't kind of, they're very aware of the person's right to make their own choices and their own decision. Really brilliant, I have to say. I wonder if you realise as well that the book that we made was also, it was a whole project. We went into hospitals, and my mum didn't go into the hospital, but I went in with another artist and worked with other people who were under a section, making art. And on my website there's, I think I've posted all the pages of the zine. We made a sort of full colour 22-page zine called We All Start at the Beginning. And as part of that project, my mum gave a couple of public talks, which was really absolutely brilliant. How often do you get to hear that?
Yeah.
So, my mum's experience inspired a whole project, not just the sort of short graphic novel that we made together, but we lots and lots of people. We spoke to lots of people about what it means to have psychosis.
I can't hear you again, Una.
Really, once I started talking to people in Leeds, like I talked to Tom from Arts and Minds, and he was really, really helpful, actually. And he was kind of saying that you don't often get these very positive stories about people actually recovering. And I thought about the kind of work that I'd been doing, which was around kind of post-trauma. And it really, one of the reasons I wrote my other book, Becoming Unbecoming, was because there were so many kind of horrible, lurid memoirs about abuse. And they seemed to sort of almost kind of, they were very voyeuristic. Mm-hmm. They were kind of pornographic in the level of violence that they had in them.
Right.
I thought, that's not what I want to read. I also don't want to read something which is kind of rose-tinted and sentimental. That's not. But what I want to read is something that's more like a real life, because it's just kind of part of your life. Going mad is just part of your life, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's a human being, and that's just a part of it. So my first book, I'd already kind of got this experience of trying to write about something really, really difficult. And I thought I can take that to try to write something about the experience of psychosis and make it seem more human and real, and maybe that actually quite hopeful in lots of ways, because it really was quite hopeful. She did recover really well. Well, that's what I was going to say. So the whole project kind of revolved around meeting with lots of people who worked in mental health or who were using the mental health services, including people who were under a section or people who sort of had long experience of depression, who came and worked with me in a gallery and that kind of thing, and just kind of collecting our thoughts together about this experience into publication. I think, as I said before, you can get on Sanity in libraries. Unfortunately, I could only afford to publish 100 of the zines, the community zine that I made, but if anybody wants to look at it, it is on my website. I've just put all of the pages on the website, so you can still see it. Obviously, everybody who participated got a free copy, and that was it. They were all gone then. And then I was going to say about my mum when she was quite depressed. It took a really long time, and one of the most interesting things she said in her talk was about the amount of patience you have to have, because she went from having to make a list, having to write down, go for a walk in the park, for example, to, like at one point a couple of years ago, I think, were you learning 2 musical instruments at Horsworth Music Centre, Mum? And also she was volunteering at the church, going to 2 different arts. Oh, at one point she phoned me up and she said, my friends have increased by 200%. She'd gone from having no friends at all to having 3. You know, I mean, it had an absolutely seismic effect on her life. And really, before that, she'd been sort of quite successful as a businesswoman, but always been really busy, you know, and probably at times pretty miserable, if I'm honest. But actually, she's quite happy now. So there you go.
So you got into lots of different things, Margaret?
What, in my lifetime?
I just mean afterwards, when you took up all your musical instruments, etc.
Oh, yes. Yes, saxophone and piano I was doing. I had Spanish lessons. And,
and
what
you went
else was
to
I
two
doing?
different art clubs, didn't you? You went
I did, yes.
And then
Farsley Art Club, the fantastic Farsley Art Club.
And you went to one in Batley or something.
Yes, and one at Batley. I went to one at Batley, that was good. I really spent a lot of time painting and playing the piano and the saxophone and practising and learning Spanish. I went to Cervantes Institute in Woodhouse Lane in Leeds. And what else did I do? It's hard to remember what you did.
But you found all of this activity really helpful.
Oh yes, it was really helpful. I found, the more I did, the more I wanted to do. I'd gone from wanting to do nothing, just to sit and stare at a wall. I couldn't even look at the television. I'd gone from that after I was getting over the schizophrenia, I became depressed. I'd gone from looking at a wall to all these activities, and the more I did, the more I wanted to do. I ended up so busy. I went to the Playhouse, had an arts and crafts morning once a week, and for the over 60s, and I went to that. And then Una suggested I went to see if I could get a voluntary job at the crypt, the St George's Crypt in Leeds for the homeless.
Yeah.
And I went and I was there 10 years. I got my badge for 5 years, and then I got a badge for 10 years.
Oh, wow. So you must have really enjoyed that work.
I did. Really enjoyed that work. It's lovely. Met some lovely people. Some very sad cases, but it was a wonderful place, was the crypt. And the things they did for their clients was fantastic. They'd get them jobs, get them into a house. Oh, it was wonderful what they did. They really dedicated people at the crypt in Leeds.
Oh, that's brilliant.
I enjoyed that. I made tea. I was a tea and coffee lady.
Oh, nice. So you got to
tea and coffee.
You got to chat to lots of different people.
I did, yes, and some of them were really, really funny. Yeah, really comical, good sense of humour. To say their situation, yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And so you did mention a little bit earlier about your digital adventures together.
Yeah.
So when lockdown happened, were you already looking into being sort of computer savvy, or is it something, once lockdown happened, was it something you felt you had to do to be able to stay connected with people?
Yes, I thought I wanted to get I wanted to get into using the internet properly, because I had kept observing what people were doing, and I thought that's really helpful, is that, especially FaceTiming and Skyping, things like that. You know, I wanted to know more about it during lockdown. It was very important to me, and I found, because I was in the house all the time, that I could find the time to do it.
And Una, how did you feel helping your mum with all of that?
Oh, do you know, it's been absolutely brilliant. It's kind of given me a focus that wasn't work, and it's actually been really good fun and occasionally hilarious, because you can imagine, you know, she's got completely different equipment to me. I mean, I know a lot about the stuff that I do. I'm pretty good at digital online stuff. But she's got like an Amazon Fire and I think a Samsung phone, and all of my stuff's Apple. So it all looks different. And I'm on one end of the phone saying, oh, the time I tried to get her to take a screenshot, that was quite funny because so I'm saying, okay, tell me what you can see, and then kind of guiding her through these different processes. But really, I can't remember what was the first thing we did. Was it sending a photo? I think it was, she'd said that she couldn't send photos. She tried to do it, I think she'd been trying to do it by text message. And I found out that on her tablet she could definitely have Messenger, so we tried sending a photo by Messenger, and that was the first successful thing. I can't remember what we sent, but I know I've got a picture of her Crocs after they came out of the wash. Was that the first? And then what did we do? Did we do video messaging then, Mum?
Yes, and then we did video messaging. It was really interesting, and you were looking to put iPlayer on my tablet, and we went through all the rigmarole to try and get iPlayer on, and then found out that I did have iPlayer on already. My other daughter had put it on for me 12 months before, and I'd forgotten.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It's given you access to all sorts of stuff that you didn't have. I mean, the video messaging was great because it was my 16-year-old's birthday during lockdown. And me and my mum and another friend all had like and my other son who doesn't live here, we all had like a lockdown video messaging party.
Oh.
With silly hats and backgrounds and stuff, and she was able to join in with that, so that was great. And also, like, I've been able to send her links to like rock and roll music, stuff that she likes on YouTube.
Oh yes, I've been listening to.
Go on, what have you been listening to?
I've been listening to Duster Digital and loads of jazz, opera, rock and roll, heavy metal. I love any sort of music. I love it all. And there's loads of music on my tablet now, and never used to get music.
Oh, that's fantastic. So it's opened up a whole new world for you then, really, Margaret?
Well, it has, because when I was in business, one of the big things about my business, which was 2 pub restaurants, was that I had live bands 3 nights a week. And every week for years. I was there 20 years in business, and the way I got the business really busy was by having these regular live bands, local bands. I used to use, and it was great. I just love any sort of music. We had a jazz night, folk night, rock and roll night, classic rock and roll night,
amazing,
heavy metal night. Yes, and we even had a what do they call them big drums? Them dustbin drums.
Like steel pans.
Steel pans. We had a steel pan band, and it was like having.
That.
Do you remember that? And it was like having 10 dustbins in the bar.
His name. But he's quite well known. He used to work at Intake High School.
Yes, he did. He was really well known. And it was like having 10 dustbins in the bar.
Well, it's been. We were all a little bit worried about the whole, because it's quite a complicated system, this whole clean feed thing. So it involves me having to send you both separately a link to separate emails, and I know Una was a little bit worried and wanted to make sure that went through everything properly. And then it just made me laugh so much that on the actual day that we all connected, Margaret, you were absolutely fine.
Yes.
and it was Una who was struggling a little bit.
That's right.
I was struggling because none of my equipment connected. Because I've got thousands of pounds worth of equipment and none of it worked.
So we got here in the end. It is strange, isn't it?
In the end. It's just the way it works. Things aren't compatible, are they?
Exactly.
Can I just say, while we're talking about music then, can we talk about Scum?
Yes, of course, because I always invite guests to, if you know anybody who's based in Leeds who's a singer or in a band, to include a track. And the track that you've chosen is, I believe, by your son's band.
That's right, my son's band, they were all 15 when they won the Battle of the Bands thing. It's called, oh my God, I forgot what it's called. But the final was at the O2 Academy.
Oh, okay.
It's sponsored by Martin House. And the prize was to play Leeds and Reading Festival and have a recording contract. And also a video made as well, I think, which I don't think they've done yet, obviously. That's going to be quite difficult now. But, they were the youngest band on stage, but they really deserved to win. They're absolutely brilliant. But the weirdest thing is that, like, I'm the right age to have been a punk, you see, so I'm the right age to appreciate them, because they're proper punk. My mum's more of a sort of rock and roll age, but she really likes them as well, don't you, Mum?
Oh, I love punk music. I love any sort of music, from heavy metal to opera.
Yeah, it's a fantastic song. I really enjoyed it.
Did you?
Yeah, a lot of energy, isn't there? Yeah, really good.
Loads of energy. That comes probably from being 15, but really, really good songwriters, and they write about stuff that's actually relevant to 15-year-olds living in Leeds. You know, they're not pretending to be the Ramones or anything. They're completely themselves. They're a really, really good, talented band, and they've got. And I'm not slightly biased, you know, because one of the drummers my son. Not, but they do have their EP, which is called. Possibly Armed, Probably Not by Scum, is on all streaming services right now, and you can go on there and download it. And I think the track that Ben chose, which is his favourite, is called This Machine Will Kill.
Yeah.
And so that's what you'll hear on this podcast.
And everyone can go on.
And all the families, and so we've got Ben and Ezra and Spike, they're the band members.
Wonderful. I always ask guests who come on the podcast 3 particular questions. First one being, what would you say is great about the city of Leeds?
Mum, you go.
Shall I go first?
Yeah, you go first, Margaret.
Well, I think the theatres, Grand Theatre Playhouse, Carriage Works, City Varieties, the Workshop Theatre. There's lots and lots of theatres. There's lots of live music, local bands playing the pubs there. I think the St George's Crypt is one of the most fantastic places in England, never mind Leeds. And that's an absolutely amazing place, it really is. And the Caribbean Carnival in Chapel Town, which we have every year, that's fantastic. And library classes, they do library classes in personal computers. Farsley Art Club. I think that's all I can think of at the moment.
That's a lot of stuff, Margaret. They're all great things. What about you, Una?
That is a lot of stuff. I've not got much to ask. I also, one of my favourite things is the carnival, but I just want to say that it is definitely the first carnival. Notting Hill was not the first carnival. Leeds was the first. I was going to add something to that. It'd probably be that we're sort of our proximity to the countryside. You know, that it didn't take long to kind of just drive out somewhere or even cycle or run. Actually, I can run from my house to somewhere nice and peaceful. So, I think that's a really good thing about it. It's also really changed. I never know how to answer this question because I grew up in Leeds when it was, it wasn't a great place to live in the late 70s and early 80s. I know people really hate to hear that, but it really wasn't. And I kind of left and went abroad and didn't come back for a while. And when I came back, the whole place was absolutely transformed. You know, it was all like shiny and loads of stuff going on. It was just kind of bizarre to see the transformation that happened. I was away for about, I'm not really sure, maybe it might have been 10 years, but not more than that. I'm not sure how long I was away. How long was I away, Mum? Anyway, what's the second question?
The second question is, what would you say is not so great about the city?
Oh, I think I've just said it, haven't I? Although I suppose it's improved, hasn't it? Yeah, you see, my memories of it are, pardon the French, but that it was a complete shithole, and I don't think it is now. I think it's a really great city to live in, and I've lived in some great cities. I've lived in Barcelona, I've lived in Amsterdam, I've visited all sorts of great cities with my work, as an author. I've been, to some really amazing places, and I think Leeds is up there with them, if I'm honest, these days.
What about you, Margaret? Do you think there's anything that's not so great about Leeds?
Well, homelessness is one.
Yeah.
And emissions from cars, I think, is another that's not great about Leeds, but that applies to everywhere, to the emissions. But I think homelessness.
Yeah, it is a huge problem. There's lots of great people out there doing some fantastic things, but it does seem to have been... it seems to be getting more and more sort of prevalent, really, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Lots of it's mental health. Some people won't go stay at St George's Crypt. They actually want to sleep outside, but that's a mental health problem.
Yeah. And what would you say? Could you tell us about something that you think is a hidden gem that people might not know about? It can be anything.
Well, I had some treatment at the dental hospital in Leeds.
Yeah.
And one of the students said, if you're going for a coffee afterwards, she says, try the lanes on Station Street near the station. She just tried the lanes espresso. And I'd never heard of it, so I went down to the station, and just round the corner from the station I found the lanes espresso. What a lovely place that is. They have lovely food. It's all homemade, it's really nice, and the coffee's gorgeous, and I thought that was nice.
Well, when we're all back up and running, I'll definitely have to try that. What about you, Una? Yeah. What would you say is a hidden gem?
Oh, yeah, Lane's Espresso, that's a really good one. Now, am I allowed to say two things?
You can, yeah.
These are both my favourite things. So there's a sweet shop in Horsforth called Marple's.
Ooh.
And it's the best sweet shop ever, but also under lockdown, he's called Bob, the guy who owns it. He started a delivery service.
Oh, excellent.
You can get your sweets delivered. He's really good on Instagram as well. He takes some really nice pictures. Called Marple's, and it's on Horsforth Town Street. And my other favourite place is OK Comics, which is in County Arcade in the centre of Leeds, where Jared's again, he's started a delivery service under lockdown, but the reason I like OK Comics is because the staff know everything there is to know about comics. They're genuine enthusiasts. They read everything. And if you go in and you're stuck and you don't know what to buy, you can just say, what do you recommend? I want to read something a bit like this, and they'll be able to find it for you. Those are my two favourite. I suppose they're both shops, aren't they? But anyway, they're still shops can be gems.
Of course they can. Yeah, of course they can. And what will you both be doing with the rest of your day today?
Right, I'm going to do a bit of gardening and top up my potatoes at some point today. But I'm going to make some brownies because I'm going to my daughter's in Ilkley, and I'm going to take them some brownies untouched by human hand. And, I shall take them out of the oven in the baking tin and not touch them. She'll have to cut them up and get them out.
Oh, I'm sure she'll be pleased with that.
Yeah, so they've put me a chair and a brolly in the garden so I can sit in isolation by myself and chat to them.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing today.
What about you, Una?
Lovely. I'm just going to do some gardening. I've given myself a day off from editing my next book that's coming out, because it's starting to get quite hard work. And I grow my own vegetables, so I've got quite a lot of work to do, really.
So you're giving yourself a day off, but really giving yourself another day of work, but it's just a different type.
Yeah, I like the gardening. The editing is really, really hard work and really boring. It's not like the writing at all.
Well, thank you so much both for coming along and telling me about your story. It's been fascinating. I'll have links in the podcast notes to everything that you've spoken about so that people can follow all that up. And have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you very much.
I thoroughly enjoyed talking to Margaret and to Una. I think it's fantastic that Margaret has been using her newly found digital skills that she's discovered with Una, and that it's widened her world so much. She did a really great job of connecting with Clean Feed and engaging with everything that was going on. And I just love talking to them both. What fantastic women. I really hope that you enjoy the track by Una's son's band, Scum. It's called This Machine Will Kill. It is full of energy and I'm sure that you will really enjoy it. Take care of yourselves, Leeds. Keep washing those hands. Bye.